The jeep dropped me at the observatory steps, the silence so complete it felt like a gift. For 2 weeks, this pristine glass and steel lodge was mine. No committee meetings, no peer reviews. Just my data and the Arctic sky. I was unpacking my spectrometer when the landline rang. The caretaker's voice was apologetic. "A small change, Dr. Vance. Mr. Steele from the Foundation will be arriving tonight. A short retreat. He insists he won't be a disturbance." My stomach dropped. Finnian Steele. Disturbance was his brand. His black SUV arrived at dusk. He stepped out, all tailored coat and arrogant grace. "Dr. Vance," he said, as if finding me here was a mild surprise. "Fancy seeing you in the middle of nowhere." My sanctuary had a virus, and it was wearing a $5,000 watch. I buried myself in the research dome, calibrating sensors to the rhythm of his muffled voice calls from the lodge. He was everywhere. On a video conference, barking orders, the word acquisition bouncing off the glass. At midday, he appeared in the doorway. "Fascinating setup," he said, not sounding fascinated. He leaned over my shoulder, pointing at a readout. "Wouldn't a redundant array here yield better signal fidelity?" It wasn't a question, it was an audit. "The literature supports my configuration," I said, my voice tight. "The outdated literature," he countered. We were locked in a technical debate that felt like a war when the first alarm shrieked, a sharp, urgent sound I'd never heard before. All my screens flashed blood red. Geomagnetic storm. Category G5. We looked at the monitors, then at each other. The professional fury evaporated, replaced by primal, shared dread. Morning brought a hollow silence. The satellite internet was dead. My phone showed no signal. The radio in the kitchen spat out static and a frantic, looping Icelandic bulletin. All airspace closed, grid instability, seek shelter. The world had shrunk to this lodge. He paced the main room like a caged tiger, jabbing at his unresponsive phone. "This is unacceptable," he muttered, not to me, but to the universe that dared to disobey. I methodically inventoried our supplies, the act calming my nerves. He needed noise, movement, control. I needed lists, quiet, order. His pacing passed the pantry for the 10th time. "Shouldn't we be doing something?" he snapped. I didn't look up from my clipboard. "We are. We're not panicking. It's more productive." The lodge groaned in the deep cold. Then, a different sound, a sharp crack, followed by the gurgle of dying pipes. The utility sink in the back froze solid, a tiny glacier spreading across the floor. We stood over it, a shared problem interrupting our Cold War. "The shut-off valve is in the crawl space," I said, pulling on my gloves. "I'll need a wrench and a flashlight." He didn't argue. He fetched the tools. For 20 minutes, it was just grunts, shared flashlight beams, and the scrape of metal. He took direction without ego. When water finally trickled then stopped, he managed a tight, good call. We made a silent meal of canned stew. The shared silence now felt different, not empty, but charged. It's funny, isn't it? How a connection forged in silence feels so fragile. Like if too many people read it, the spell might break. But maybe, sharing it with others who get it could make it stronger. Just a thought. The lights flickered at dusk, then died, plunging us into deep blue twilight. The Aurora played silently outside the windows, our only lamp. He built a fire in the great stone fireplace. I found a bottle of whiskey in a cabinet. "Medicinal," I said, pouring 2 glasses. We sat on opposite ends of the same rug, the fire painting his face in gold. The whiskey burned away the last pretense. "Everyone wants a piece of the king," he said, staring into the flames. "But no one asks if the crown is heavy." I swirled my glass. I just wanted a door I could lock. A title no one could take away. He looked at me then, really looked. "And now you're locked in with a stranger." A log shifted, sending sparks swirling up like tiny stars. "Maybe not such a stranger anymore," I whispered, and the walls I'd built so carefully didn't just crack, they trembled. The truce held. We moved around each other with a new, careful awareness. He stopped pacing. I stopped flinching at his voice. He found an old calendar, its page still on December. "It's almost Christmas," he said, a strange softness in his tone. Later, he placed a rough, dark stone on my open notebook. It was local basalt, but one face had been cracked open, revealing a stunning geode lined with tiny, glittering quartz crystals. "I found it by the ridge." "The inside," he said, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant, "reminded me of you. Complex. Beautiful. Hard to get to." It was the most uncalculated thing he'd ever done. My fingers closed around the cool, sparkling rock. No one had ever given me a piece of the world before. He went out at dusk to check a secondary sensor array, promising to be quick. The data could be crucial, he argued. The Aurora was particularly violent, a seething canopy of green. An hour passed. Then two. A primal fear, cold and sharp, lodged in my throat. My rules, my safety, my walls, they meant nothing against the image of him alone in that frozen dark. I suited up, my hands shaking. Pushing into the storm was like walking into a silent, electric ocean. The wind screamed. I found him halfway to the ridge, his ankle twisted from a fall into a hidden crevasse. "You came," he breathed, pain and awe in his eyes. In that moment, I wasn't a scientist or a fortress. I was just a woman terrified of losing him. I got him back to the igloo dome, our sanctuary of glass and light. We huddled by the heaters, the festive Christmas tree glowing beside us. He was in pain, I was shaking from adrenaline, and every pretense was gone. "Why did you come out, Elara?" he asked, his gaze holding mine captive. The truth tumbled out. "Because I couldn't bear the thought of a world without you in it. It's illogical. It's reckless. His kiss stopped the words. It wasn't gentle. It was a collision of relief, fear, and months of suppressed wanting, a desperate affirmation that we were both here, alive, real. The magical lights swirled above us, witnesses to our surrender. The satellite link chirped back to life 3 days later. Emails flooded in. A rescue plane was scheduled. The outside world crashed into our bubble, and with it, a heavy, silent question. Was this real, or just a product of trapped magic? We moved through the lodge like ghosts of our former selves, touching lightly, speaking in hints. On our last night, we stood outside under a gentle, dancing aurora. He took my gloved hand, his thumb stroking my palm. "The plane arrives tomorrow," he said, his voice low. "But this doesn't have to end, Elara. Some traps, we choose to stay in." I looked from our joined hands to the brilliant, peaceful sky, then to his uncertain eyes. For the first time, I chose the unpredictable. I smiled. "Then let's negotiate the terms, CEO." Stories like this don't end when the last page turns for one person. They live on when they're shared. Don't let our story fade into silence. Join the community of readers who keep these moments alive.